Welcome to We'd Rather Be Reading. I'm Jerrica.
And I'm Lia.
So, Lia, what have you been doing this week? What are you reading?
I read this book that I got for Mother's Day, actually. It's called, I want to say Piranesi, but it could be Piranesi or Piranesi or
pronunciation issues.
Something or other. And because I had to read it, I actually had to figure it out in my head how to say it. Which is even worse.
Nobody spoke the book to you this time?
No one told the words to me.
Rude.
It was very rude. I did not like it at all. But it's by Susanna Clarke. It's a very interesting book. Not something that we would read kind of for the pod or anything like that. It was... but, I mean, I liked it. I gave it 4 stars, so I did like it.
Wow, you starred it too.
I did star it too, which, you know, it's rare. But, yeah, that's what I read. And then I read, obviously, Boyfriend Material.
Yes.
Yes, and that's it. That's all, I think. I didn't have much time for much else. And I started the new book also, of course.
Okay, right.
So what did you do?
I also just finished reading Boyfriend Material and all of the gazillion hours of them bickering and nothing happening. And then, at the end, nothing happened. Oh, I'm so excited I finished reading this 7,000 hour long.
It was 13 hours and it was not that bad. Come on. You're being unfairly harsh on Boyfriend Material.
Okay, but I actually liked the book, but it was really long. And it kind of felt like I had these like 2... friends hanging out with me the whole time. Like, you know when your friends come over and you're like, but are you going to go now? But like, are you going to go home now though? Because like now we're done and you should probably go home because now I'm tired. I felt like that. I actually went and took a nap while I was listening to this book.
Wow.
But I, of course, paused it while I fell asleep.
Oh,
but it was
good.
It was one of those books where it felt like I had friends hanging out with me the whole time and they didn't know when to stop.
I used to suffer from a serious fear of missing out, like FOMO when I was younger, and I would always be the last person at the party in case something would happen when I left. And I was scared that I would just miss out on stuff. But as I've grown older, I realize I don't care. And I'm always like the first one to leave. So I've gone like the full opposite direction here. So yeah, I don't have that. You'll never have that problem with me. I probably leave before you're done. You're like, hey, but we weren't finished talking. I'll be like, bye. I'll see ya. Catch you next time.
My best friend actually that I lived with for many years, she found this like common thing that I used to always do. And I suppose I did it since I was a really young child. And that's, I will be up for as long as I can be up and as social as I can be while I'm awake. And as soon as I feel my body is stopped, I get up and leave and I go to bed. Whether or not we're in the middle of a show or a friend is still over or she's crying about something from work, I'm like, gotta go to bed, see ya. And she's like, Jer! I'm like, it's done. It's over. My night is over. I have no more brain left for you. So I go to sleep. We'll talk about this in the morning. So she called it, oftentimes when I didn't say goodnight and bye, that I was pulling a Houdini because she would go and pour another another glass of wine.
Another bottle of wine?
Another bottle of wine.
Did you have like those big glasses too?
She for sure does. She for sure does.
Fill the full bottle into one glass so you could say, I only had one glass of wine?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And I think at one point she also had one of these like beer hats for wine where you can just like suck it in so you didn't have to hold anything or spill anything on the couch.
I did see that there was like a handbag which had like
yes.
like the special pocket for like the box wine thing, so you could just put it there and then you could just refill your glass as you're going.
It's amazing and super sneaky. No one will know.
Of course not.
No.
Yeah, because your bag has a little weird tap on it.
So wine and go.
Oh yeah, my kid, he I don't know, he has a flask. Someone gave him a flask at some point.
Oh, good. Good thing to give a young teenager.
He filled it with water and brought it to school, and he was sipping from it.
That's actually kind of badass.
That was funny.
Who gives a young teenager a flask?
I don't know. He also
awesome.
He had his birthday last week, and my husband gave him a slingshot. And he called it the forbidden gift. I'm like, yeah, because it's actually illegal.
Oh, slingshots are illegal.
I'm pretty sure because like it's the proper one too. Like,
where did he get this from?
He ordered it from China. So, I mean, he made it through customs, so I don't know how illegal it is, but I'm pretty sure that he is not allowed to bring it to school or many places. I don't think you're allowed to bring a slingshot to too many places.
The sketchiest thing we ever did was we brought a sundial from Sweden to Canada. And you know, these sundials have these little Hercules men in the middle with a arrow through it.
Ah, yes.
And we had to deconstruct it. So we had this like metal arrow and this metal sundial with a bunch of other rods. But it made it through. Canada was like, yep, this seems legit.
Well, my aunt had to give up her fondue forks for her chocolate fondue set when flying from Canada to Sweden because they were considered a weapon on the plane.
Did she try to bring it on board?
Yeah, I think she ran out of space in the suitcase.
That was mistake number one.
Yeah. But I also someone I know from Australia, she's like, yeah, my dad tried to board a plane with his knife still attached to his belt and was very surprised that they just wouldn't let him.
Okay. Yeah. All of that common knives that you could bring on board an airplane.
Yeah, but sometimes I wonder about the airplane thing though, because you're not allowed to bring like sharp things like fondue forks. But on some flights they give you an actual like knife to cut your food with. Like,
I've never been on one of those. Have you been in first class? Do they give you real knives in first class? Are you fancier than me?
They give you real knives on Air France flights.
Okay.
And the Swiss one too. The Swiss Air. They give you real knives.
I missed a flight once because I had to go back through security because I had nail polish in my carry-on. And I was like, what am I going to do with nail polish? I'm going to shove it down your throat?
How big one?
Was
it like a big one? Because...
No, it was because I didn't take it out for them to see the liquid during security. So then I had to be pulled over at the end, and then I had to put my bag all the way through to make sure it was just the nail polish that was the problem. Missed my whole flight, had to stay in Edinburgh for another 2 days, but whatever, it was awesome.
Oh, that's kind of good. That's when you're not traveling with kids, because when you
True, I was alone. I was fully alone.
And you miss your flights, you're like, oh. Like, we missed a connection in New York once when we were flying to Sweden from Canada. So we make it to New York and miss our connection, and we had to stay a night at a hotel in Jersey, which was like... I have all these pictures from this flight, like
beautiful
like
views
of the highways. Yeah, no, it was beautiful views of being like very close to New York Airport and like literally seeing nothing but fields and highways. And I have all these pictures. Like my kid was one. We only had one at the time, but he was about 1 year old, and we have all these pictures of him like in the shower playing with like. Whatever plastic hairbrush and like other stuff we could find in the hotel room. Yeah, no, not the best. You don't want to miss your flight when you're traveling with kids. It's no fun.
But how much do you miss traveling? Now we're talking about it as if we have been on an airplane recently, but it's been like 2 years.
It's been a year and a half for me, actually. I made it to London in January, February of last year, which was like squeaking right under the COVID.
We were in Costa Rica and came back in February.
But yeah, no, I miss it a lot. I can't wait to go back to Canada. We can't wait to go... I want to go to London. I really want to go to London.
I know.
I miss London.
And this book was very London that we're reading this week. So nice segue
even more
into talking about the book of the week, which was Boyfriend Material.
By Alexis or Alexis Hall. I'm thinking it might be Alexis.
Because it's a male writer?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know. It depends on how French you feel. Because our neighbors in Montreal, their kid was called Alexis. And it was spelled Alexis, and it was a boy. So
let's look this up. It is a boy.
Hey, it is a boy. I know it's a boy. But I don't know. It could still be Alexis. That I don't know. But I thought it was Alexis when I saw that it was a male writer. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Just trying to pronounce your name right.
But the book was awesome.
Probably failing in pronouncing everyone's names, and I apologize for this.
Yeah, today was not your best day for pronunciation.
It's not working for me. And the main guy here was same as Addie LaRue. It was Lucien or Luc. And he was in dire need of a boyfriend to rehabilitate his image. That's what we talked about last week.
Yes.
And then he meets Oliver, who's a barrister. And turns out that the wigs that they wear in the courts in London are apparently very expensive.
Very expensive. But you can't play around with those. No make-believe. No.
To bed.
No.
And then what happens is, they fake date.
Yes.
Then they break up a few times through bathroom doors. And sometimes they get back together through bathroom doors too. They meet each other's parents with varying degrees of success.
Right?
They meet each other's friends also, with mostly successfully meeting each other's friends, so that seemed to have gone pretty well. And then they break up and they're apart, and then they get back together. The book ends.
Yes.
Did I summarize that well enough?
That was actually a very fast summary of this book. I am impressed. You took away all of my speedy summary today. But the main character, Luke, he's like damaged because he has this alcoholic and drug sort of absentee rock star father, and his rock star mother also has been more in the picture than the father, and she's very involved in his life. I actually like her story a lot.
I liked hers too, and with Judy, with her best friend, with
I
the
know.
dogs.
And she's like, listen, Luke, I don't need to be called a gay here. Like, you know that.
Are you also the gay?
The gay. She's like, I'm too old for that, like, hot, lovey-dovey stuff. Now it's more of this, like, true love, like, this...
Like watching TV with my best friend
marathon
Judy.
watching RuPaul's Drag Race. That's true love in your late 50s.
Yeah. Judy was a duchess, because they called her duchess at one point, so... And fairly rich, lives off royalties. Seems like a pretty nice lifestyle. I would like to live off royalties. I need to sell something where I could keep getting royalties.
But you know what? I drew kind of a funny parallel to this book, or to both of the boyfriends, and that is that the first boyfriend, Luke, he's a little bit your type.
He is. It's true.
And the barrister is a little bit my type.
It's true.
And I was like, okay, I wonder who she's going to be rooting for throughout this book, because is she going to see like all of the positive sides of this barrister guy, or is she going to want him to be messier and messier?
No, because I don't necessarily... He's my type. I like messy.
He has messy dark brown hair. He is skinny and not fit. He is rock star lineage. He's damaged. And he's perfect for... And British accent, he's perfect for him.
He's perfect.
Other than that, he's interested in men.
Yeah. Can't win them
and
all.
He's a fictional character.
That too, that's a problem as well. No, but I mean, I do. He definitely fit my type. But then saying that, I would probably be more of an Oliver type myself. So I did root for this relationship because I am not that messy. Not that damaged, just a smidge. And I definitely exercise a lot. So,
sure.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, the barrister was like my type because he's a little older, successful, cares about his body, like muscles, like tone muscle. The arm thing was a big thing for me. Always has been. And a little pompousy. I don't love that. But whether you're going to tell your parents to go F themselves, like Luke did, or be a little bit more stable, like Oliver, I will go for the Oliver type every single time.
But did you root for this relationship, though? Should Oliver put up with messy, damaged Luke?
Where I talked about this in the beginning, where I don't like self-deprecating, and actually I was kind of like, haha, when he actually called himself self-deprecating in the book too. But Luke was a little bit too much of a like, feel sorry for me, Debbie Downery, like he was really hard on himself all the time. And his inner dialogue was like, well, I fucked that up. And his outer dialogue was fucking things up. Like there was no like fixing it himself. Maybe at the end he got a little bit better in how he dealt with his emotions when he approached Oliver.
I think Luke did a fair growth journey in this book, though, because in the beginning, he's self-deprecating, he's messed up, everything he touches turns to shit. But it's mostly because of the way he acts, because he has all of these great friends that love and care for him, but he's not a good friend back. He doesn't actually care about their issues. He has this job where his coworkers actually like him, but he sees himself as better than them. He is very like, he's pompous in a way, like he's very like, oh, this job is so beneath me. I am this big marketing person and now I have to do this shit with dung beetles and these people are idiots. I'm surrounded by idiots. I have these, I like the email wars. That is very funny with finance. Because I find I work in an office and sometimes you find yourself in these email communications where you would never talk to a person like that to their face, but you do these overtly polite emails of platitudes that really are passive aggressive emails saying get your shit together because I need this, and I was relating to that. But he's very as he's with Oliver and as Oliver is pointing these things out to him and as he's wants to be, because Oliver, it's all about Oliver wanting to be a better person kind of thing. Like he tries to be what he thinks that his boyfriends want him to be, and then he's never showing enough of himself. Whereas Luke, in a way, is all about himself. He shows, this is me, look at me. I'm dripping and bleeding here on the ground and I'm so messed up and I'm rolling in my own filth,
But then when Oliver breaks up with him and he's like, I'm so embarrassed that I'm not wearing any clothes right now. And he pulls a duvet over his chest as if to hide himself because he's so deeply insecure but so outwardly cocky.
Yeah. But I think Luke does this growth journey in this book, and it's a lot thanks to Oliver. Like Oliver just having someone there who actually likes him for him and who is not ready to sell out his story. And it's all of these insecurities too. I thought it was, I enjoyed it. I did. Just the whole not being able to trust people because they might sell you out to the tabloids. But then I was also wondering why the frick would tabloids really care about the kids of a rock star when they haven't actually grown up with them. To be in the tabloids every week, I don't know. I think you kind of have to be a little bit famous yourself in order for that to happen, because I feel like there's a lot of kids of celebrities that are not in the tabloids every single week because, well, they do nothing of actual consequence kind of thing. Or, to warrant that kind of attention, I guess.
Yeah, but there is definitely a lot of talk in the tabloids about child stars. I was wondering, did he have his own career? But then he didn't.
And that's why I was wondering why he was getting so much attention from paparazzi and tabloids and even the Guardians. When he hasn't seen his dad since he was 3, and he's the child of two super celebrities. But at the end of the day, so is Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love's kid, and she's not in the tabloids every week. Every time she steps up, no, Frances Bean, she's a girl.
Okay,
no,
I thought she had a sex change for some reason.
If maybe I could have missed it.
You would know.
It is possible I missed it, but I'm just saying it's not in the tabloids every single week.
Yeah, true.
And every time they leave the house, it's not someone that doesn't have a picture. It seemed that every time he went out with Oliver, anywhere he went, there was someone there. So clearly they care enough about it. This part was slightly unbelievable for me, but maybe it's just that I'm not. I know also that the British tabloids are aggressive,
true,
to say the least. So maybe if he was messy enough that you could get good stories, then yes, maybe they would follow him. But just the insecurity of not being able to trust if people are going to sell you out and sell your stories out or tell all your secrets. I think for him being so messy and being so self-deprecating and so insecure in himself and in the relationship and all of that, it must come from just not being able to trust people, from being burned so much. And with Oliver, it came from just trying so hard to be what everyone wanted him to be, and then that not being enough because you actually didn't show yourself. I
think Oliver's issues came up a little too late, to the point of where now everything is over, I'm just going to get up and walk away, and Luke being but we have feelings for each other, we talked about this is going to be real now, and he's like, nope, no one stays with me. It was kind of out of nowhere, but then I understand why, because there's going to be another book. But also, I messaged you after the book was finished, wait a second, this scene outside of the apartment building, did it really just end there? Usually there's epilogue or some sort of extra ending where it sums up what happens a little bit into the future of that moment. But it truly just ended in the moment with 2 I love you. So I read... or listen to, I should say, one of the best narrators ever. I'm obsessed with this narrator. 13 hours just to get an I love you. And I feel like I sat through a really long Hallmark movie.
But I mean, it was very. It was the kind of book where I felt like it was a lot of fantasy because, like, who has great friends like that? And
but
so
it was a
many that are,
rom-com.
like,
It was a rom-com. All of
willing
these,
to drop
like...
everything at all times to come and just listen to you. Like, it was a lot, and they, like, both of them had, like, this exceptional group of friends. And then, I mean, this is just me being a parent and being all pissy about stuff, but I really didn't like the way they talked about the kids, like the people with twins. Like, it actually got on my nerves quite a lot. Like Oliver's friends with the twins, they were like, oh, we hope one of them will die, and we were going to leave one of them out, and like both of them out in the field and just come back with the one that survived. And like what are the little devils done now? Like, oh, they found him at the neighbor's house between the knife and the this, and like, oh, but he's still alive. Yeah, unfortunately. And all I kept thinking was like, I get that it's supposed to be funny, but I really didn't. This kind of stuff,
That's not your humor.
I don't connect with it because there's so much shit that can happen to you kids, and I don't need people to kind of wish that stuff on them, even by joking, you know, kind of thing. Like, yeah. But that was just one thing.
But it was a really good rom-com, and if I like think about it as a movie, I kept seeing back to like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, where I'm like, okay, not too much is happening here. But wait, not too much happened in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days other than the entire premise of the show, where basically they're in a game also.
Yeah.
So this was in a pretend relationship, and they were in a pretend relationship. So it followed a little bit of the same premise for me, and was like a very sweet romance in the end of it, and I liked both characters, actually.
And those characters were actually the only fleshed out characters in this book. Everyone else was very caricaturish, in all honesty. Like Luke and Oliver... and potentially Luke's mom, but not even quite her, was not... They were the only ones that were real people, which had more than one way of talking or being. Like, everyone else was very stereotypical of something. Like the co-worker that couldn't remember anything and thought everyone was super rich. And the best friend that was always late and always had an emergency. Like, everyone was very caricaturish in a way. Like, very one-note kind of characters.
Very much like a rom-com.
Yes.
Well, if you're looking for a summer read, I would recommend this book, Boyfriend Material.
I would recommend it
by
too.
Alexis Hall.
Fun. And the narrator, fantastic.
Best.
So fantastic.
Best.
We might
listen
need to
to it.
actually look it up and see if he's narrated other stuff.
I need
so we
him
can just
to
kind of-
read all of my books from now on.
Yeah, we're just gonna hire him, and he's gonna be. We're gonna be like, when I go like, is it Piranesi or Piranesi or Piranesi or whatever? I'm just gonna call him up.
He's
and be
gonna
like,
know
hey,
because he knows so many languages.
I'm
All
gonna
of
be
the
like,
accents.
hey,
he could
just
do.
read this book to me and tell me how to
So
pronounce all of
impressive.
these things.
I love that
It's
guy.
gonna be great. So
All right.
we're gonna do like a weird segue here
Yeah.
into the next book, which is Hunted by Meagan Spooner.
You are not it with the names today.
No, I don't know what's up with me. It's terrible. And we're going to start by judging this book by its cover. And I have a complaint about the cover to begin with, actually.
Okay.
And it's mostly that Hunted, the name of this book, the title, has the long side of the D is like a bow and arrow kind of thing. So it's the bow, and then the arrow goes into the E. But the middle line of the E is actually still there, which means that it's not actually supposed to be there. But every time I look at this, I feel like, wow, she's holding her bow so weird. And also, it's kind of small.
Okay.
So it took me quite a while to see. Oh,
That
it's
she
supposed
wasn't
to be
actually
the D.
holding it.
And honestly, it could have just been the D. They could have just made like the string a little bit darker and replaced the D with the bow and arrow.
Right.
And then it would have made sense.
No, you're
but
right.
the way it is now, it looks like she is
Holding
very
a tiny bow.
She's holding a tiny bow very weirdly, slightly out to the side, much too low.
So on the cover we have a girl with curly brown hair, and she's in like a little Red Riding Hood kind of cape, but it's green.
Yes.
And it's snowing everywhere in the forest with some light coming through the forest.
Yes.
And what do you think this book is about?
Well, I mean, I would think it's about a girl being lost in the forest. Would be my first thing. And someone who's very bad at hunting, by the way. She's holding a bow, but...
For me, I thought that it was going to be something like Red Riding Hood.
Yeah.
Like she's going to be in the forest and have to battle against a wolf.
Yeah.
And would you buy this book if you saw this cover?
Honestly, no.
Me neither. When I saw it, I was like,
not.
no, this is not a...
No.
This would not have pulled me if I was even looking for a book to go on an airplane. I'd be like, meh.
And yeah, no, I would not have picked it up based on this cover. And it's also the fact that under Hunted, there's an extra little tagline that's a beauty deadlier than the beast. I would have rolled my eyes so hard and be like, ugh, what is this crap? Never. So yeah, neither one would have picked it up based on this cover. Good thing we didn't look at the cover then. Because we did start reading this. And so what's happened so far in this book? There's a lot of people to keep track of in the beginning.
Actually, yeah. But we know that she's coming from a village.
Yep, her name is Yeva.
Yeva, which means beauty.
Does it mean beauty? Her dad called her beauty when she was little.
And they gave her the name Yeva, meaning beauty.
Yeah. So she's a lady in waiting to the Baroness, and she has caught the eye of a man in the Baron's hunting party who is set to inherit his estate, and that man is Solmeyr. Yeva has a couple of elder sisters, Lena and the other one, which I still can't remember her name, but her name means Grace. That much I know. And Grace foot is twisted because she says it's an irony that someone with the name Grace has a twisted foot.
Yeah.
But she's graceful in everything else she does, just not the walking. And this older sister thinks that Solmeyr actually is intending to marry her, but it's Yeva who's caught his eye. And then the dad he's a merchant.
But he's lost his money.
And he put all of his money and investors' money into this venture to break into new market, and then his caravans are taken over. They are attacked by marauders, and they lose everything. So he's now in debt, and he's in debt to all of his investors, and they have to sell everything they have to move to this little hunting cabin where.
This sounds like a beforehand a Feyre story from A Court of Thorns and Roses.
A little bit. But they used to live in this hunting cabin, at least during the summers, I think, when Yeva was little. And her dad used to treat her kind of like, because he only has daughters, so he used to treat her a bit like his son. Mm-hmm. So he would teach her to hunt, and they would hang out in the woods a lot. So she's liked being in the forest.
Sounds exactly like Feyre. Go on.
So they have to sell the house and move to the hunting cabin at the edge of the woods. And something lives in the woods. Mm-hmm. And it lives deep in the wood, and no one goes there. Because there's something there, except for Yeva's dad, and he's like used to be the best hunter, from what I gather. And then we get into spurs here between every chapter. We get a little section from the beast, and the beast or beasts, I don't know. He keeps talking about we.
Yeah, he does say we.
I don't know if it's beast or beasts.
We don't know how long we've been here. Exactly. Centuries, maybe.
Yeah, and he knows the dad, the beasts.
Okay,
or the one who's talking at least. Once they're at the cabin, Solmeyr comes there and he basically proposes to Yeva. And she's like, well, my dad's not here, so come back in a couple of weeks. So he goes. He would be a good match for her. He would let her hunt. He would let her be who she wants to be. He would let her be free, but she's still not really quite sure she wants to marry him. She wants to be free, is her thing, which is very Addie LaRue. She wants to be free. So into the woods she goes, because her dad's not coming back, so she figures she needs to go and get some food. And her dad stumbles back a few days later. He's not having any luck. He hasn't found anything. He says the beast keeps scaring all the prey away, and he can't find anything to hunt. But he hasn't seen that Yeva has found quite a few things to hunt, so they're not going to start. And that's where we end chapter 3. Prediction, I mean, this literally is a Beauty and the Beast story. So as far as predictions go, I'm going to assume that this is going to end like the Beauty and the Beast, where the Beauty is going to tame the Beast and break his curse, and they're going to live happily ever after in his castle. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what will happen here. She will learn to love the Beast, and he will find his humanity again. And I think he might take her dad, and she might have to go and rescue him. But I'm not sure.
I was thinking that it was going to be, I guess, since I'm drawing parallels to the court books and Feyre, that once he finds her, she's going to like put up a big ass fight and be like, no, this is not, like, I'm not the one to break the curse, and I want my freedom, and get me the F out of here, and continue to fight to leave his grip, eventually finding, like you said, some humanity in him. But I think she's going to want to, like, dethrone him and take his place.
As the beast.
As the king beast.
As the king beast. Okay, fair enough. We're just going to have to keep reading to find out, I guess.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it.
We will talk to you guys next week. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
We'd Rather Be Reading is an original podcast by Jerrica and Lia and The music for The Penguins, written and performed by David Allred from the album The Transition, courtesy of Erased Tapes. Please check him out on Spotify and check us out on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram at We'd Rather Be Reading and on Twitter at We'd Rather Read. You can also email us at we'dratherbereadingthepod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.